This camera just might put me and maybe even Insta360 out of business. Here's some footage from it.
Woo! Brake zone. Great brake zone. Now this changes every year. I haven't been down it yet. There we go, yeah.
So here it is. The footage looks really good. It's solid. It's handling the highlights and the shadows really well. Color balance is really nice. There's almost zero wind noise, and yet you can still clearly hear the bike, the trail, and my voice.
Oh, this track. You see, well, I don't know how well it'll show up on camera, but to me, I'm thinking this is why. This is such a good test track.
It's just really solid and quite similar to the footage that you've been seeing on my channel for years now. But there is one massive, massive difference. This is what the Insta360 X5 looks like and sounds like straight out of the box from the factory. And what I'll say next is not an opinion, it is a fact. And that is, as someone who's had experience with nearly every single flagship action camera that's come out over the last decade, I can say with 100% certainty that there has never been another camera that looks and sounds this good straight out of the box with no modifications. And that is a problem for me. You see, over the years, the Loam Ranger channel, the channel you're watching right now, is largely built off of the fact that I put the extra time and effort into making my stuff look and sound better than most, my action camera POV footage. But that took a lot of know-how, a lot of work. You needed to know about exposure compensation, exposure values, different color profiles, which audio settings to set things into, what to do on the back end, like in the video editor to make it look and sound as good as possible, how to color grade. And starting in 2017, I started putting out how-to videos to teach people how to set up their action cameras the same way. And those videos got millions and millions of views. And typically after like a big action camera release, whatever brand it was from, I would do a review on that camera, and then shortly after I'd put out a video on how to make it actually look and sound good. Because almost every single action camera that's ever come out, really all of them minus like Ace Pro 2 and now this one, you had to modify and change like crazy to try and make it look anywhere near as good as the advertisements would have you believe. I built this channel off of those types of videos. But now we started seeing it with the Ace Pro 2, and it's really hit home on the X5. You can take this out of the box and go and film something incredibly taxing on an action camera like mountain biking, and it all just works.
Yowza.
And sounds good. And so when they sent this camera to me, they said, yeah, we got a new wind mic integrated into it. And they're like, it'll sound really good, just set it on auto. I was extraordinarily skeptical because audio is my thing, and I'm very picky about it. I took the camera out of the box and I could not understand what was happening. This looks totally normal. I don't get how this setup would be any better. But if you look really closely, there's this little front grate there. And behind that is a special wind mic. Between that and the 3 AI chips that are in this, I don't know anything about AI, I just know that it can make things more efficient and handle some pretty serious processing power within a device. That's about all I know about it. Anyways, 3 AI chips. Between this wind mic and that, they said that you could just set it and forget it. Leave it as is. And I have never been able, short of the Ace Pro 2, because they actually included a little foam wind mic thing on there, short of the Ace Pro 2, I've never been able to do that on any camera in history. They have all sounded brutal, really bad. And the audio that you're hearing from these tests is from straight up bass settings, didn't touch them.
I'm gonna try and do things as I would, not necessarily on a race lap, but on like a fun lap. Because I want it to be repeatable. And when I think fun lap, it's me being smooth, woo, and doing my big, heavy braking zone still.
And here is what the X4 sounds like with the little foamy wind muffler guard things on there. Very technical terms, I know.
I wonder how it's going up there. Seems to be having a good time.
And you don't have to have fluffy, fuzzy things on your camera now. It's built in. 2, and I know this might seem trivial or silly, but it is actually a massive thing. The white balance for the shots that you're seeing was set to auto.
Braked into the corner on that one there. Here we go.
And I have been so annoyed by auto white balance over the years, and I've put out plenty of videos that shared my disdain for auto white balance because the cameras were too stupid to know what they were looking at. So if you're riding in a green forest and all it saw was a bunch of like browns and greens, the camera would think, there's too much brown and green. I need to balance that out. And so it would add a ton of blue and red. And it would just take all the life out of the image and it would look awful. And now, presumably with those 3 AI chips in here, it's thinking, oh yes, this is a trail in the woods, so the white balance should look like this. It looks really good, and I don't see any weird white balance shifts happening anywhere either, which is normally what you would expect. So now, so far from my testing, I can say just leave it on auto white balance, and I can't believe I'm saying those words. I've never said them before in my life. Oh, yeah, it's in my notes that I'm supposed to, so hold on. The sensors on this are actually a fair amount larger than on the X4. They say that it's 250% more light sensitive area on this sensors, because there's 2 of them, which is a pretty dramatic difference. And with those AI chips, they were able to transfer over the low light capabilities that they first introduced on the Ace Pro and Ace Pro 2 to this camera. So now you can shoot much lower light scenarios between the larger sensor and those AI capabilities. It's got a bigger battery now, like substantially bigger battery. Like the X3, for example, had an 1800 milliamp hour battery, and this one has a, checks notes, 2400 milliamp hour battery. So if you have an X3, moving over to this, you get a lot more runtime. And so if you are somebody that has an X2 or an X3, like the single lens capabilities, especially on the X3, is really, really good. But you could always sort of tell that if you were shooting in 360 mode and then reframing, you can always kind of tell, which made sense because you had 5.7K to deal with for the entire sphere that you were capturing. And then you were just taking out like a little 16:9 rectangle out of that, or 9:16. But when the X4 came out, it moved up to 8K. So you had way more pixels to work with for cropping out your flattened image, I guess you can call it. And now with the X5, it's also 8K, but with that larger sensor, everything's just a little bit cleaner. And you can tell there's some AI wizardry going on. Like everything has like less ghosting, everything's more crisp. It looks really good. Even in shots like these, where I know the frame looks quite bright because cameras always try to make everything look decently bright, but the sun was just going down over the other side of the mountains on the other side of the valley. So in the shadows here, it was actually quite low light, and the image still looks amazing. I don't really see a perceivable difference between that and better light scenario. And the X5 had a really nice balance between having a bit of a slower shutter speed, so to induce a little bit of motion blur, which I love, while still being able to have really, really nice image stabilization, which you don't normally find in any camera. The lenses, the lenses. You finally can now swap the lenses on this camera, and apparently I haven't done it yet, okay? But apparently it's easy enough that you can do it trail side. So if you crash and you scratch the lenses, which we have done many times, you can carry spares with you, pop this lens off, put a new lens on, and keep going. Thank you for that. Not only that, but the glass that the lenses are made of are harder and stronger now, so the likelihood of scratching them is less than ever, which is nice. And so Insta said, you know, you can go and take a hammer and just like smash that lens on camera and just replace it to show how easy it is. But here's the thing, I don't want to do that. I don't want to just ruin a perfectly good camera lens for no reason, because the reality is we're in springtime now, and within a couple of weeks, I'm probably going to crash down onto this on my own accord and ruin it. And I can also pretty much guarantee that there are 1,000,001 videos out that just launched this morning showing people destroying their lenses in all kinds of ways and replacing them super easily. Do we really need another one of those? I think not. So I've told you why this camera is annoying to me, because it means that I don't have to make a video telling everybody how to make it actually look good. But I also mentioned why would this camera put Insta360 out of business? I don't know if a camera truly, at this point with where this is at, I don't know how, like they've already checked all the boxes, like every single thing that I've ever asked for from them, and we talk back and forth and I give them ideas. I'm like, I would love this and love this and love this. Obviously changeable lenses is like pretty high up there, and great audio without having to mess around with foamies all the time. They've done all the things. So for everybody who buys one of these, what can they improve upon? There's not really anything else that they could do for, when the X6 comes out at some point in the future, what could that even be? If you have any kind of older 360 camera and you would like a new one, I would get this over any of the other ones. If you have an X4, you're probably good. And like, unless you destroy the lenses on the X4, I would just upgrade to this so you don't have to worry about that anymore. The X3 versus this one, if you use 360 mode a lot, the audio and visual quality out of this is leaps and bounds better. It is a very substantial difference between the two. So I am very, very, very stoked how Insta360 seems to be listening closely to people's feedback and implementing them into their new designs. That is what's putting them ahead. That's why there's the Go 3 and Go 3S. They actually are listening, which is a really nice breath of fresh air. It's really good to see. And on that, I was trying to think of like, what else would I like from this camera? There are two things from me that I would suggest to them. One would just be done with a firmware update, and the other one is like an attachable add-on. I would love, in single lens mode, I would love to be able to turn off image stabilization, because at the moment it's locked on there. And I know like 99% of people will just always want image stabilization. But for some of the shots that I like to get, and especially on the automotive and racing side of things, and rally racing, I would love to be able to turn off image stabilization. So that'd be one cool thing. And two, along those same lines, I would love an attachable lens guard, which you can still get for these, by the way. You can do lens guards on it to protect the lens that way. I would love a lens guard that is also an ND filter, a neutral density filter, so it brings the light levels down, so we can get even more motion blur in bright scenarios. That would be really cool. Those are the only two things that I could possibly think of to add to this camera. It's an incredible single lens camera, it's an incredible 360 camera. And I now know that if I recommend this camera to somebody, they could buy it, take it out of the box, hit record, and it will look just as good as the video that are coming from my channel, just as good as the video that you're seeing from the marketing campaigns. And that, yeah, that's a pretty cool thing. There's a link in the description if you're interested in the camera. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.